everybody, my name is Kelly Dale and I'm owner of Off the Beaded Path located in Forest City, North Carolina. For today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make little peyote stitch tube shaped beads that make a beautiful bracelet. So what you'll need for today's video for the peyote stitch tubes, you're going to need a size 8 seed bead. You're going to need 6 or 8 pound Fireline, whichever you have, and you're going to need a needle. It can be a big eye needle, it can be a size 10, it can be a size 12, whatever kind of needle you want. And then when I actually put my bracelet together, I'm going to be using 8mm Bicones, and then you'll need your 49 strand beading wire, a clasp, and 2 crimps. So get your materials together and we'll get started. To start, you'll want to thread a needle onto one end of a piece of Fireline. Now, what I do is I like to use one long piece to do quite a few projects, or quite a few of these beads. So I normally cut about 1.5 yards, but thread a needle onto one end, and you want to pick up one size 8 seed bead and bring it down and leave yourself about a 2 to 3 inch tail. Now the only thing we're going to do with this tail is use it to tie off at the end. From the tail going upward, I'm going to go through that same bead I just threaded on, so that when I pull, the thread will now be wrapped around that bead, and that is my stop bead. That's also considered bead number 1 of my tube. Now, I'm using a very shiny surface seed bead, so what I like to do, because that still can slip, is I actually like to take a little clip and put it right there after the seed bead. You do not have to do that. This is just something that I like to do to help it not slip as bad. But, so that's optional. If you want to use these are super cheap. You can get these at Lowe's or Home Depot or any home improvement store. And I think they're like 60 cents. They're not expensive at all. So, but I've got one bead. And to make my tubes, this is my tube, what it looks like. And to make the tube the length that I have it, I'm going to pick up 7 more beads for a total of 8 beads. So I picked up 7. I have 1 on here, so that's 8 beads. So now we're going to start our peyote stitch, and as I tell everybody, peyote stitch, the hardest part is actually getting started. Once you get started, it is a breeze. So here is my bead number 8. I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead. I'm going to skip bead number 8, which was my last bead threaded on, and I'm going to go through bead number 7, going towards the tail, and pull. You want those beads to sit on top of each other, so if you have to, manipulate them to sit on top of each other. Pick up 1 bead. I am coming out of bead number 7. I'm going to skip bead number 6 and go through bead number 5, going towards the tail. So it pops into place. Pick up 1 size 8. I'm coming out of bead number 5. I'm going to skip bead number 4 and go through bead number 3, going towards the tail. And for this last one now, it's exactly like I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and actually take my clip off. I'm going to pick up 1 bead. I'm going to skip bead number 2, and I'm going to go through bead number 1. So that finishes my first 2 rows of peyote stitch. Now I'm just going to continue on. I'm going to pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come through this. I'm going to work back towards myself. So I'm going to come through this top bead here, which would be the last bead I just threaded on. So I'm going to come through that one. I'm going to pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come through the next bead sticking up. Pick up 1 bead. I'm going to come through the next bead sticking up on that row. And then I'm going to pick up one bead and come up through the last bead sticking up on the row. So now another row is complete. I'm going to continue on working away from me now. I'm going to pick up one bead, come through the first bead sticking up of the row, pick up one, come through the next bead sticking up, one, come through the next bead sticking up, and then pick up one and come through the next bead sticking up. Now I'm going to continue to do peyote stitch back and forth until I have 6 beads here along the bottom and 6 beads here along the top. When you finish, this is what it should look like. And if you lay it up like this, you can see a little better. I have 6 beads along the top edge and 6 beads along the bottom edge. Now what that does, having 6 on the top and 6 on the bottom, is that allows us to be able to fold it in half, and when I fold it in half you can see my beads zigzag. So that way they will fit together just like a zipper fits together. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to do what's called zipping it up. So I'm folding it in half. My thread is coming out of the bottom here to this side. So I'm going to come right up through the bottom bead here on the next side. And basically what my thread's going to do is it's going to do a zigzag straight across the piece. So now I'm coming out to this bead here. I'm going to try to turn it different angles so you can see. I'm coming out of this bead, so I'm going to come through. If I hold it like this, you can see it. The next bead that's sticking up on the other side. So again, I'm just going to hold it at a couple of different angles so you can kind of see. Then I'm going to come back across to this side over here, and I'm going to come through the next bead sticking up on that side. And you'll be able to see as you pull how your beads fit together. Okay, I'm going to come back over to this other side, and I'm going to come through the next bead sticking up to the other side, go through the next bead sticking up, other side, next bead sticking up, other side, there should be a last bead sticking up, and then we're going to go back to this other side here and go through our last bead sticking up there. So that way when you pull, you can't tell where you zipped it together at all. Now, there's still a thread hanging out here on the outside of your bead here to this side. So we actually want to take it and we want to get our needle under that thread and pull. So that way, now our thread is not around the bead. And I'm going to take my thread. This is my working thread here coming out of this bead. I'm going to take it and I'm going to go right down through the bead that my tail is coming out of. So that way, it connects those 2 beads. Now, what we're going to do is you want to follow back down through and then work back up so that you're coming out of this bead here next to the tail. So we just want to zigzag back down to reinforce and then zigzag back up to come out of the bead here next to your tail. Now that you've done your reinforcement, this is what you'll have. You'll have a thread coming out right next to each other. And all I'm going to do is take that 2 pieces and I'm going to tie them together in a couple of really good knots, pulling it nice and tight. If you don't want to do your knots like this, I am not saying you have to do this. This is only a suggestion. You do it as you see fit. Okay, so I'm putting quite a few really good knots in there. And I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to come down through a few beads into my piece. So that way when I pull, the knot actually goes down into a bead, and that's what I want. So I'm going to weave through a few of my beads, and then you can take a pair of cutters, or I'm going to be using the new thread zapper too that I just got in. I love this little thing. It is great for cutting Fireline or any kind of thread that you're going to use. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just touch it to take that piece off, and then touch it to take that piece off. And you can touch it and it'll burn the ends of your thread there, so that way it won't come apart. So that I absolutely love that about my piece. Now, you're done with your bead and you're actually ready to go ahead and let's make it into something. You can make this bead as long as you want it, as wide as you want it. It's completely up to you. This is just a suggestion as to what I've done for the piece. Now, I've already made some other beads here. Let's see, 2, 4, I've made 6 beads. And like I said, you can make as many beads as you want to for your bracelet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a 49 strand piece of flex wrap. That is my absolute favorite beading thread to use. Now I'm using black thread today, or the black flex wrap, so that you can see actually what I'm doing. Normally I would not use the black. I would use either the pearl, silver, or what they call the clear. So to get my bracelet started, I'm going to thread on a crimp tube. And let me zoom in here so you can see actually what I'm doing. I'm sure that would help you. So I've got my crimp tube. I'm going to thread on a wire protector going up one side. And then down the other side. And I'm going to thread on part of my clasp. So I'm going to thread on my lobster claw, and I'm going to bring it up inside of the wire protector. And then I'm going to take the crimp and I'm going to slide it up over both threads. And I'm going to bring the crimp all the way up to my wire protector. Now, I'm going to be using the one-step crimp plier, which is my absolute favorite plier to use, but you use what you have at home or you like to use. So I'm going to put it in there. I'm going to press my crimp. Perfect, exactly what I want. So now I'm going to start threading my beads on. So I'm going to thread on a bicone, an 8mm bicone here. I'm going to thread over both threads. Then I'm going to put on a repeating pattern of a bicone and a tube bead. So that way my bicones lay right in between those tube beads. And you'll just want to thread on the repeating pattern of a bicone and a tube bead until you reach the desired length of your bracelet. When you get your beads threaded on, this is what you should have. Now, my bracelet has 6 tubes on it, and when I measured it around my wrist, another tube and bicone bead would have made it too big. So I went back and I threaded on an extra bicone onto each end, so that way when I finish it, my bracelet will be the perfect size that I need. So to finish up the bracelet, I'm going to thread on a crimp tube, my wire protector, so I'm going to go up one side, down through the other side. Then I'm going to thread on my split ring, which will be the other side for my lobster claw. And then I'm going to take my crimp and I'm going to actually bring it up through both wires and I'm going to go ahead and run it through my last bicone bead. Now I'm going to pull the wire straight down, and what I like to do, especially when I make a bracelet like this, is I actually go ahead and clasp the bracelet, so that way I don't get the bracelet too tight when I actually crimp. So it looks like that's going to be the perfect size there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my crimper, and oh my, that just sounded country as could be. My crimper, get it centered in there. Now, a lot of people have asked me, if you don't think you got the crimp good on the first crimp, can you re-crimp it with the one-stepper? Yes, you can. Put it straight back up and down in there exactly like you had it, and just press it again. So that is perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and take my cutters, trim that little wire there, and now I have my finished peyote tube bracelet. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make the peyote tube, first the peyote tube and then the peyote tube bracelet. This bracelet is a lot of fun because depending on, you don't have to use bicone. You know, I use this Swarovski bicone. You can use other beads in between and make it a very affordable bracelet. And it's a new technique, just something real simple and fun to do. But you can find the thread zapper that I used, that's brand new, which I love. You can find that on our Etsy store. And I started working this week trying to get all of our size 8 seed beads onto Etsy, so that if you want to add to your stash a little bit, you can check out all the colors that we actually have available in our store. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure and come back next week for another fun how-to project. And if you check out our blog, which is offthebeadedpath.blogspot.com, you can go on there, and I actually listed everything that I could remember that people have asked me to do in the last couple of months. I went ahead and listed what all it is that people have asked me to do, and I tried to put dates with it so that you would know what to expect as the year kind of progresses. And so far, I think I already have through July planned out. But if there's something that you guys want to learn how to do, go to our blog and be sure and comment at the bottom of that blog, so that way I'll know what to add to our video selection. So be sure and check out our Etsy page, like I said, for all the materials. And I hope you guys have a blessed week, and we'll see you again next week. Bye bye.